Hey, this is Joe from the Dead Milkmen, and you're watching Crash and Bleed. Raul, she loves you. Why don't you give her your hand? She's the best lover, the best that there is in the land. Raul, she loves you. Why don't you give her your love? She's got the best kiss that I know of. You're a lucky guy, much luckier than I. I'd love to take your place. You're a handsome guy, much more handsome than I. I wish I had your face, because then Raul, she'd love me and I would give her my hand. She's the best lover, the best that there is in the land. Raul, she'd love me and I'd be the only guy that she'd think of. And we dance in the moonlight and make sweet, healthy love. La da 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 da, 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 la da 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 da. And we make sweet, healthy love.
Yeah. All right. So, Joe.
Yes, Jay.
This episode is all about tour stories from the Dead Milkmen, and we'll jump into that in a moment, 80s, 90s, 2000s. But firstly, I was wondering, do you have any favourite bands that you like to tour with?
No. I don't have any favorite bands that I like to tour with. I like to tour with Cool Z, but he's not a band. He's just a one-man. I guess you'd call him a one-man band.
Oh, okay.
Cool Z. He bridges rap and lounge, and sometimes punk. He's a one-man band.
Okay, I've never heard of this, so I might have to look
You've
this up.
never heard of Cool Z? Because I've done like I think 4 solo tours with him now. The Dead Milkmen haven't really toured, so we don't have anybody that we toured with recently that I can say that's a favorite.
Not even back in the day.
In the past, we've toured with King Missile, and I really like them, and I still like John Hall. Do you know King Missile?
It rings a bell. I think it's...
Yeah, they're from the 90s, 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
And they were we did a short tour with the Red Hot Chili Peppers. They became very famous.
Was that before they did the big album?
Yes, it was right before the big album. They had a pretty big album, as far as we were concerned. But then that was before their huge. That was right before their huge. What was it? The Blood Sugar Sex Magic album.
Yeah. So, should we jump straight into the tour stories then? I'm guessing the first one that you're going to tell us is possibly from the 80s, maybe the first tour that the band had, or the second?
I'm going to skip the first tour. I mean, there are plenty of stories of the first tour. The first tour itself was kind of magical in that there were no expectations for what it could be, so everything was cool in my book. This would be our second big United States tour, I guess, because we did regional tours, but this would be 1986. We were friends with a band called Glass Eye from Austin, Texas. Their bass player ended up producing 3 of our albums. His name's Brian Beatty, but this is before he got involved with producing our albums. We were touring. The only album that we had out at the time was Big Lizard in My Backyard, and The album called Eat Your Paisley was in the can and was going to be released this year, 1986, but it hasn't been released yet. In fact, we were still working on the final bits of the album art for the insert. I know this not because I remember all this stuff, but it's written down in a daily diary that I kept. So it's not that my memory is this great, but the band Glass Eye booked some shows for us in the Austin area. Specifically, well, they booked a couple shows for us, one in Austin and the other one was in San Antonio the very next day. So we play a show at the beach with Glass Eye, and the next day we have a show, and they don't tell us the address of the place, that they just say this show's in a place called Tacoland. It's an interesting place. Usually only local bands play there, but we got you a spot. And they didn't tell us the address of the place, but they told us to go to the address of their friend's band called The Love Bubble. And we kind of knew who they were. Billy Zeitgeist and The Love Bubble was what they were really called. I guess that's their full band name. So we went to their house in San Antonio, and they said, follow us to this place. It was called Tacoland. And we're like, okay. It looked like they were like motorbikes parked outside. So we're like, oh my goodness, this is a biker bar. It wasn't a place that sold tacos. It used to be, but not anymore. It was just now a bar that had music at night. And like I said, mostly local stuff. And we were like, oh my goodness, how are we going to go over well here? We don't play Mexican biker music or anything like it.
So is this the actual place that inspired the song Tacoland?
It is. We wrote a song about it. In fact, lots of other bands wrote songs about this place too, but this is the place. And it became kind of famous. I also found out, just doing some little research today, that the band War also played there. The band, I don't know if you know them, the Minutemen played there. So some other famous national bands played there as well. Even before we got there, we saw a banjo player singing and playing banjo across the street. So we thought, wow, this is like the Deliverance or something, the movie Deliverance. Like, what are we getting ourselves into? But it actually turned out to be a really great time. There's a band that played before us that did a lot of covers. They did a couple of Daniel Johnson covers. And we had met Daniel Johnson for the first time 1 year before that. So I'm just remarking now later that it's kind of impressive that already his songs are being covered by bands, and he was in Austin for about, I don't know, a year and a half, spreading around his tapes. So I guess it wouldn't be unusual, but I put that remark in my diary. Oh, wow, they played Daniel Johnson songs. Dave was abstaining from alcohol, and I was not drinking too much. I drank, like I recorded that I drank 1.5 beers the whole night very slowly so that people wouldn't keep filling my cup, because that's what they were doing. It's like the alcohol, the beer was flowing so freely. Rodney and Dean, the only people that were drinking the beers that were being brought up to the stage for us, got really, really sloppy, and it was just a fun time. We played all our songs. We played our set, and people wanted more, and then we played some more, and they still wanted more, and it seemed like they weren't going to allow us to leave. Like they were that type of crowd. So you got to play. The owner of the bar is named Bram. He was quite a character. He would, the type of guy, when Ram drinks, everyone drinks. Who's drinking, that is. We ended up playing every song we knew, and then we started playing covers that we knew. We played What Am I Doing Hanging Around by the Monkees. We played I Heard It Through the Grapevine and My Girl. We played Time Won't Let Me, which was an old Outsider song that we had in our repertoire. And we ended up with, our final song was a cover of Dylan's Rainy Day Woman, and which we brought anybody who wanted to come up on the stage, we let them and bang on things and sing along. And it was just a fun kind of drunken night. So that's my tour story for 1986. So what seemed like, oh no, we're going to get killed, turned out to be a fun time that we ended up writing a song about.
Yeah, and you say multiple bands wrote songs about this place.
That's true, yes.
Yeah.
Do you want to know who?
Yeah, go on, name drop some.
Name drop some bands. Let me see if I can find my. Oh yeah. According to this article, Susie Bravo and Hammerhead's Face Down Ass Up is about Tacoland. I didn't know that. Little Nessie, Stop It, You're Killing Me. Geronimo Trevino's Macho Man from Tacoland, and that mentions Tacoland. The other one that mentions Tacoland is Kevin and the Black Years, Tacoland Shuffle, and there's Boxcar Satan's Boxcardo's Hideaway. And in fact, the bar did seem like a little hideaway. It was it was hidden away in a little industrial section of town. It was totally off the beaten path. Yet the locals knew about it, and it certainly attracted people every night. Now, fast forward to 2004, Low Budget self-booked a tour of the United States. I was in a band called the Low Budgets. Do you know of them?
Yeah, Dan was in that band, wasn't he?
Yes, of course. Dan and I were in that band together. And we booked a show at Tacoland in San Antonio, or so we thought, because we booked it through the internet, through a message board. Basically, someone said, I can get you a show at Tacoland. Okay, we will play there. And then the other message was, okay, you got a show. It's on blah, blah, blah date on our tour. And we show up at Tacoland, and Ram's there and said, you're not on the bill tonight. You can't play here. Only local bands play here. And this is how you play here. You have to sign up on a sign-up sheet. And that's probably how we got the Dead Milkmen show, is they got Love Bubbles to sign us up. So if you're from out of town, you have to get a local band to sign you up. And we didn't do that. Whoever did that message board thing was either playing a prank on us or they didn't follow through. I was already in the doghouse for something that went on between Chris, the singer guy, and I don't know, his trauma between his wife and back home and something. And it was like one of those things where nothing I was doing was going right. And here's another example. I book a show and it's not really booked. And he storms off and says, I'm getting a hotel room. In the meantime, I'm trying to sort this out. And after some negotiations with Ram, we are allowed to play the show, because we traveled all that way. But Chris refused to come out of his hotel room. He was just being a dick. So that's what I remember of that time. But we still had a good time, even though we didn't play. And if I remember correctly, we jammed with one of the bands that played. So technically we played at the end of the night. But the Low Budgets didn't play, which saddened me a lot. I really wanted the Low Budgets to play there. I wanted us to get the full band experience. But anyway, we did have a great time. We got somebody off one of the people that worked there put us up in his house, and we watched a Ween video of at that night. I just remember good things about it, except that I wished we had played there. And sadly, about a year later, Ram, the owner, got shot at the bar by somebody and killed. So that was the sad ending of Tacoland, but I was glad that we got back to see it one more time, even though we didn't get to play it as the Low Budgets in 2004.
Oh, damn. So has it been renamed now? Is it still like a place where people play?
No, it's not a place where people play anymore. I think it's like the last time I saw it was, I think, 2006 or something. I was on a solo tour. I did a solo. It might have been 2009, actually. That's what it was. 2009, I did a solo tour, and we saw it as like people have made a makeshift memorial of the building. But as I understand it now, it doesn't exist. It's been razed. But people still remember Ram. He's a legend in San Antonio.
Yeah. Well, since the Dead Milkmen are the type of band that dabbles in comedy quite a lot, one thing I forgot to ask you the first time I had you on was what were your comedy influences growing up?
Monty Python, stuff from Dr. Demento's show. It was a radio show, syndicated radio show here in the United States, where they just play comedy, novelty records and stuff. Steve Martin stand-up.
So, do you have a favorite comedy film that holds up to this day?
Oh, I love Monty Python and the Holy Grail. That film.
Okay.
That might be one of my favorite. I also like Love and Death by Woody Allen.
How about in today's times? Are there any comedy movies that you're excited about today?
No. There's no movies. No comedies. There's nothing funny anymore.
I don't know, the Dead Milkmen are still funny. Did you hear that song about the butt spoon? So, should we move on to a tour from the 90s, or is there another one you want to tell from the 80s?
Well, these are similar stories. In 1986, we had one of our first big headlining shows in New York City. I don't remember if we had other shows, but usually when we played in New York City, it was just we drive up and play in that city, and we drive right back. And we had recently purchased a van from a hospital ambulance company. So it's a van that was formerly used to transport, say, diabetics and such back and forth to places to get care. But now it's our van. We didn't take off the side, the letters on it, though, so it's actually said hospital ambulance service in the name of the company. And it had a 1-800 number to call, which we didn't remove. And we're just driving down the street, and one of Rodney's favorite things to do, like as we're approaching venues or whatnot, was to he had this little mega horn. It was like almost like a toy, battery powered thing, and yell things out. And he would yell like things, hospital emergency, or like he would yell, I don't know, rude things out to people, and they would just to see the reactions. I don't remember exactly what was being yelled, but the next day our manager calls us and says, you got to take off. You must take off the number. We're getting complaints from the hospital ambulance service. They're still in service. They just, we're getting rid of some of their fleet because they've gotten so many complaints from, there's somebody that's cursing out people on the street. Not very nice. Anyway, that wasn't the story I was going to tell, but that was just a sideline. We get to the venue and we unload all of our equipment. This actually was part of the tour, New England tour, so we're not coming back right away. We have some luggage, but this is our first stop. We do a sound check that's during the day. A lot of times you do sound checks at 3:00. It's usually 3:00 when you're headlining at a venue that opens up at maybe 8:00, and you're not playing until 10 or 11. But you still got to be there at 3:00 for sound check. So we're doing the sound check. We come back to our van, and the window shattered on the driver's side. And we're like, oh no, what did they take? They took my acoustic guitar, some of our luggage, my boombox, all of the tapes that I brought with me to listen to. But the sad thing was they took my favorite acoustic guitar. Never could get one exactly like that again. It's just that same old story. No matter how hard I try. I mean, I do have some nice guitars now, but that's the thing that really pissed me off is that in the middle of the day, who would have thought that, someone would have the guts to break into a van on a street that's parked right in front of the venue in Manhattan. This is before New York changed. I mean, New York is a lot different now, especially Manhattan. The crime rate, I think, is so much lower than it was back then in the mid 80s. And what they left a couple of hypodermic needles in, as I don't know, as a calling card or something. I don't know. That story just sticks with me for some reason. A sad start to a tour.
Yeah. So,
Then
was that 86? Did you say?
It might have been 87 because it might have been early 87. In 86 we headlined CBGB's, but my memory is that we were headlining a place that was bigger than that, where a place that in 85 we were opening up, the same place that we opened up for the Dickies, or if we would have opened up for who else? Yeah, the place I think it was the place that we opened up for the Dickies, and I don't remember the name of it. I just don't remember. And now we are headlining in it. It's a big hall in New York City.
I was going to ask, do you remember what tapes were missing? Anything special?
Whatever I was listening to at the time, it was probably Descendants, Minutemen, Husker Du, REM, that sort of thing.
I didn't have you down as a Descendants fan, actually.
Why? Why not? I like the band All, too.
Okay.
Why not?
I just didn't see it. I mean, what's your favourite Descendants song?
Oh, my goodness. Clean Sheets.
Clean, okay.
That's just because that's the first one I could remember.
All right. So, jumping into the 90s then, what's the first tour story that comes to mind from that time?
In the 90s, this was we were touring on the album called Soul Rotation. And we were in our tan van. Now we got rid of the hospital ambulance van. We bought a slightly bigger van. It's also a Ford. And it was two-tone tan. It was beige and tan. And I remember this happened the day after my 31st birthday. Or 30th birthday. Is it 30th? Yeah, 30th birthday. So, and I remember that because we played in Davis, California on my 30th birthday, and the band surprised me on stage with a party. Like, they surprised me on stage, basically, and gave me gifts at the end of our set. And that was really nice. And the very next day, we had a show in Berkeley. It's not that far away. We had a hotel room, and the rest of the guys wanted to go shopping. So they said, we're taking the van shopping. If there's anything in it you need and you want in the hotel room, get it out now. And I guess I got my backpack out and my art supplies. And I said, I'm just going to stay in the hotel. I don't feel like going shopping. They went shopping downtown, and they came back with terrible news. The van had been broken into. And so this is another similar story, I guess. But it's one that sticks in my memory. And there's what got taken. Oh, no. I left. On this tour, I brought my Tascam 4-track cassette recorder because we had hoped to use it backstage to take advantage of some downtime that we always had, between sound check and after you eat and before the show backstage, before we go on. to work on music. We made one song that way that was aimed for, I guess the next album was Not Richer But Dick. But we started recording demos backstage on my 4-track. Those of us in the band that wanted to participate. So it was me and Rodney and me and Rodney and Dean, basically. And so they took that, plus the tapes that we had been working on, which really sucked. So the demos were gone. And again, the tapes that I brought with me to listen to, they didn't get my Walkman because I had that with me. But for some foolish reason, I left all that stuff in there, and I just kicked myself. To this day, they took all that stuff. And that wasn't the second time we were broken into before. We got broken into in Kansas City during the day while we were eating lunch in 1990. And that was kind of devastating too, because they took all of Dave's medication, which was a pain to get prescription medication, which was a pain to get refilled. And they took all of our luggage, and we had to go to thrift shops and buy new clothes for the rest of the tour. But yeah, that was for me, the getting my 4-track cassette thing stolen was the worst. And I couldn't buy a new one because that model wasn't made anymore. When I finally did buy a new one, it was a different kind.
Yeah. Well, I was wondering, since you're getting broken into here, I'm guessing since you say the 4-track being stolen was like the worst thing, so you never had any guns pulled on the band, anything like that?
Not on the band as a whole, but our manager got a gun. Our manager who was touring with us got a gun pulled on him, and it was not unusual, I guess, at this place called the Electric Banana in Pittsburgh, which happened to be our first stop on our 1985 tour, when he asked for the money that we were promised. It was like, you want the money? You're promised. Here you are. There were guns. Our money got held up by gangsters with guns in Oklahoma City. I remember that happening. They took our money box. I don't know if it wasn't our money box. It was the club's money box. And that was the club's excuse for, we don't have any money to pay you. But that sucked. We still played the show. Yeah. And that happened before the show. We still played the show. That sticks in my memory. And that stuff would have been written in a tour diary that got stolen in Kansas City. But I still remember it. So all the stuff that I remember from the time that I don't have the actual diaries for, because they got stolen.
So that Electric Banana place, was that run by someone called Johnny Banana?
I don't know. Why do you ask? Is that a famous person?
I think the same thing happened to NoFX in the 80s.
This was taken outside the Electric Banana, which is a club in Pittsburgh. That club owner is known for pulling a gun on bands.
No shit.
Johnny Banana.
Pulled a gun on the bands?
Yeah. If he didn't like what he paid you, he said something.
It's like a story that it's something that they did on a regular basis, I guess. And I don't think that place exists anymore, but we would never go back there. Yeah. I wasn't there, but guns got pulled on Rodney and our manager, Dave Reckner. We were offered like a place in Louisiana. We played in New Orleans, and then we didn't have a show in Baton Rouge, but Baton Rouge isn't far from New Orleans, and we got offered a place to stay in Baton Rouge from a pen pal, a friend of ours, in an air-conditioned house. And Dave and I took him up on it to sleep in a nice bed, a private bedroom, because this guy said his parents weren't home, and we could, we had the whole house to ourselves. But the others, so I guess it was Dave and Rodney and our manager, said, no, we want to go to this party we're being invited to in New Orleans, and we'll just play it by ear, which we did a lot. We're young, they're young, and do whatever. They were staying at the house or apartment where these girls invited them to stay, the boyfriend came home and pointed guns at them and thought they were like getting with their woman. He told them to get out. At least that's what I remember of this. It didn't happen to me. No, that's not my story.
Well, I was wondering what the reason was for the "If I Had a Gun" single. I guess this is an EP, but I think it was
Well,
meant as a single.
that was inspired because where I lived in Philadelphia at the time, I'd hear things that you could say, "Oh, is that a firecracker? Or is that a gunshot?" They were probably gunshots, so they're happening at night. It made you think like it wasn't safe to go out at night. And in fact, a lot of the houses, apartments that you'd rent in that area had bars on the windows, so it's like you're paying to live in, you know, protected by bars because that way people can't break in.
Well, so was this the label's idea to put out the EP?
Probably.
Even though the album
Or
didn't
a
do well, they
management.
just thought, let's get an EP out.
Yeah, because I think sales weren't the sales of Soul Rotation weren't up to expectations of Hollywood Records, and they were trying to bump it somehow. They put out I think even before that, they put out the Conspiracy song as a promotional CD to get radio stations to play it, and that didn't take. They did a video, but not a single for
Secret of
The
Life.
Secret of Life, and that didn't take. It got played on 120 Minutes once, maybe, and that was it. I don't know. On MTV, that is. So they were like at a law. What can we do? They wanted they wanted bonus tracks so they can maybe get sales from the people that already bought it, boost it that way. And I don't know. If I Had a Gun came out. I don't know whose idea it was, but it was either our managers and Hollywood's idea or a combination.
Yeah. So,
but I don't know why.
So
that's Rodney's nephew on the cover of the.
Oh, really?
That's his nephew Jeff.
Where's Jeff now?
I don't know. He was living in West Virginia for a while, but he might be back in Pennsylvania. I think he's in Pennsylvania because last time I saw him was at a Philadelphia show backstage. So I think he's in Pennsylvania.
Okay. He's not in a band or anything?
No.
Oh, okay. So that's interesting. The Conspiracy song and Secret of Life could have been singles, but Hollywood Records just abandoned the idea, I guess because of the album sales.
I don't know if they were trying to sell a single. You can buy the Conspiracy single on eBay, but it's just that one song. And they also did a promo item of a Yoyo. I remember that. A Soul Rotation Yoyo. Hollywood Records made that and sent it out to the radio stations and influencers to try to bribe them to like us better.
All right.
I don't know. We lost that magic touch with college radio once with Soul Rotation.
Okay, so in our last chat, you said that Soul Rotation was kind of a work album. It wasn't fun to make. So
it was work. Yes. We recorded it twice, in my opinion. We recorded it once in a studio, but that ended up only being the demos for the time we really recorded it.
Oh, right. Okay. So what was songwriting that album like? Was it just stressful, or were any of the songs like half written?
No, songwriting was fun. The songwriting part was fun, and I wanted the songwriting to keep going, actually. I didn't think we were done. But our manager brought in a producer, I guess because of deadlines and timelines and stuff, and said, "You guys don't stop writing songs. You already have enough good songs." I remember him saying that. And I was like, "We do? We could still write more. I felt we're getting on a roll now. We're just getting on a roll." I thought it was a fun process of writing those songs, personally. Just the recording. I didn't like the recording of it.
Yeah.
But all the bad vibes I have pretty much faded. I don't cringe as much when I hear it by accident anymore.
Is there any chance that you can play If I Had a Gun?
Yeah, we still have that. We still keep that in our repertoire. We pull that one out every now and then.
Okay.
Would I be amused? Or would I be impressed Know that bad food onto your chest. When kids are crying and we'll put you to spend. Let's start, get some money for the rent. If I had a gun, had a gun, if I had a gun, if I had a gun, if I had a gun. Would I start smoking marbles? Would I stop smoking Kents? Would I gain some new respect? Would I gain some confidence? Would I suddenly go crazy and shoot my family? See myself years later on some crime show on TV. If I had a gun, 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 if I had a gun. Would I suddenly go crazy? I forget the next line. When
I was gonna look up the lyrics and I couldn't find couldn't find
something
it.
about when I'm being misdealed, I called him misdealed. I got criticized for my bad grammar in that one. But misdealt doesn't rhyme. Suddenly, when I'm misdealt. Anyway.
All right, let's
would I keep it in my holster? Concealed, that's it. Would I keep it in my holster? Would I put it in a holster? Or would I keep it concealed?
That's what it is. That's what it is.
Would I put it on the table every time that I'm misdealed?
Yeah,
And the correct word is misdealt. But misdealt doesn't rhyme. But anyway, that's I drew a blank. But somebody pointed out to me that Oasis stole that title for a bigger hit. If I had a gun. I don't know if you're a fan of them.
Not really. I know of them, obviously. But... So, since you say Soul Rotation was a work album and Not Richard but Dick was fun again, were any of those songs lingering around from Soul Rotation? Were they half written and then just brought in for that album, or was it all fresh?
It was all fresh. We didn't finish this. Like, the last thing we were working on for Soul Rotation was a song that Dean brought in called Dulce, and it never got lyrics. But it's part of that conspiracy song thing.
No, it's on the If I Had a Gun CD as well. Yeah.
So there was really nothing that got rejected. I mean, anything that got rejected from Soul Rotation wasn't even worth I think worth writing, worth finishing. Yeah. But for me, everything we're not really that good about we're not a band that has a lot of leftover stuff, I think, from the way we work.
Yeah. Well,
like nothing that's complete. It's just scraps.
Yeah. So were any of those stolen demos lingering around in your head that actually made it onto that album?
No. I don't think so. I don't think anything. There was a song called Flightless Birds Love Connie. That was written in a dressing room. At least the music of it was. I think all of it was written in a dressing room. That one we did make a demo of. That one we had a mix down of. That was the only one we had a mix down of, and the mix down didn't get stolen. we're able to revive it. But we did a demo of it we did a demo of that for Richard Patik, but that didn't get recorded in the studio. It only got recorded in our basement.
Is that one of the demos that Dan might have sent me a couple of years ago? He sent me like 4 demos from that album of songs that weren't on that album.
It might have been because Dan loves that song. It might have been. If we're likely to ever revisit those and do those again, Dan's the only person that has been able to get Rodney to go back and do an old song. Because he's very persistent. Because we recently released a song called "When Daddy Drinks," and that's an old song that would have normally gotten left by the wayside as unusable. But Dan convinced Rodney that it was brilliant, and Rodney he changed the music a little bit, but he basically kept the lyrics, which was the key.
Well, let's just mention a few of my favourite songs. Again, the fan favourite and deep cut kind of idea, but "I Dream of Jesus." That is the song that I think of when I think of this album. Is there a fun story behind this and inspiration behind it?
Gina Davis, maybe. This is something you have to take. Rodney was 100% the lyrics. I wrote the music to it, but I can't remember how we coordinated it because it's one of the ones where he tells the story. It's sort of like Stewart in a way where he's telling the story, but then it has the chorus. I can't remember whether I did it by myself or maybe Dave was working with me, but I probably did it by myself and just came up with the chorus so that we could have a chorus to go back to for "I Dream of Jesus." So it was a collaborative effort.
Do you guys still play that to this day? Because I don't think I've ever seen that happen.
We played it with Dan in the band.
Yeah.
We played it back in 2000 when we were promoting the King in Yellow. So 2011, 2012, somewhere around then.
Okay. Well, we should touch on the song "Let's Get the Baby High" because that's another song that people think about when they think about this album. I know I asked you a long time ago in emails how the voices were recorded, and maybe you guys touched on it in Big Questions, but this wasn't using pitch shifting software, was it?
That's another song where Rodney and I trade parts. Like he sings a part, I sing a part. So we're both being a character. We're each a character in the song. One character's pleading with the other person, "Don't get your baby high." I think it was inspired by a real story, but it's a sad story. And in fact, the published title of the song is A Philadelphia Story. And we published it under that title only because Hollywood Records was refusing to release it under the name "Let's Get the Baby High." But then they changed their mind. And our manager got them to change our mind, but it was already we already done the publishing. So we were prepared to call it A Philadelphia Story just to get it on the album. But one part was sped up while we were recording, the other part was slowed down. So the sped up, when we speed up the tape and record it, when you play it back, the voice is a lot lower. And when you slow down the tape and record it, the voice is a lot higher.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so Rodney was the one who wanted to get the baby high, and you were the one that
I was
yeah.
So for me, they sped up the tape and I sang it. And for Rodney, they slowed down the tape so he could sing it.
Right. Okay. Oh yeah, I think my favourite song is "Nobody Falls Like," which is that track that's I'm guessing Rodney wrote this one, but it's the "You put something in my brain, you put something in my
yeah."
Like, okay, so
what's that? Go on.
I was going to
what's
say,
it about?
Yeah. Where did that inspiration come from? Because it kind of comes out of nowhere on the album. It's just this wacky, funny song.
I don't really know what Ronnie's inspiration was from it, but he used the actual telephone to sing it. he went into a different room in the studio and dialed the number, and they actually recorded him singing it in a telephone. You can even hear him hang up. It's a weird thing to do, I think, because you can just do that. You can do that with effects and make it sound the same thing. But he actually did. He sung it through a telephone.
The
was
Bad
phoning
Brains
it
did
in.
that, didn't they?
Who?
The Bad Brains, HR, recorded vocals from prison over the phone.
Oh, maybe that was the inspiration. I don't know. You have to ask. I don't know. You can say that. I don't know why he decided to do that. I know where the title comes from, but I don't know what relationship it has to do with the words. Our royalty collection agency, BMI, here in the United States, had an accounting mess screw up where there's a song called "Nobody Falls Like a Fool," which was a country song hit. And for some reason, they credited that song to the Dead Milkmen, to all four of us. And we started getting huge royalty payments for it. And on the statement, because of the computer statements back then, they wouldn't have the full title. Like if a song was too long, it was shortened to "Nobody Falls Like." So, like our song "Where the Tarantula Lives" might have been "Where the Tarantula," and that was it. That's all that fits. But you know what it is on the statement. But we started seeing line items for "Nobody Falls Like," "Nobody Falls Like." It's getting played in so many places and countries and radios, radio, TV, blah blah. We're like, what is this "Nobody Falls Like"? We didn't write this song. So we called them up and found out it was "Nobody Falls Like a Fool," and they corrected it, and we had to give them the money back, unfortunately. They clawed the money back. It wasn't our money.
All right.
But we decided to write a song called "Nobody Falls Like" in hopes that maybe they'll give me some more of that money. But it didn't work.
All right. So, just before we jump back into the tour stories, is there a tour? Is there an interesting story that happened between Not Richard and the Stoney album? Because I'm guessing the Stoney thing was the final tour, wasn't it?
Well, there is a story involving guns. I think we told it on Big Questions, though, where we get guns pulled on us by the cops and the police in I think it was Tucson. Or it could have been, no, I think it was Phoenix. We had come from Tucson. See, I think it was Phoenix, Arizona. Because we got mistaken for a van of people that was supposedly purloining electronics.
Okay.
And we had a whole squadron of cop cars surrounding our van, and they said one by one they had sharpshooters, they had people pointing guns at us while we put our hands on our heads and rotate. We got frisked and handcuffed in the whole 9 yards.
Oh, Jesus.
Which was disconcerting, to say the least.
Yeah.
But it was a case of mistaken identity.
Yeah. So just the Chaos Rules. See, I forgot to ask you this last time too. The Chaos Rules live album.
Mm-hmm.
Is there some kind of reason why this is only the first 4 albums, aside from the song "If I Had a Gun," which is I think it's a hidden track, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a hidden track.
Yeah, so you weren't allowed to play any songs from Metaphysical Graffiti?
Our Hollywood records deal ended because of lack of enough sales. But the contract we signed with Hollywood said that we weren't allowed to re-record any of the songs we recorded for them for a specific amount of time, like 10 years or something. Let's say 10 years. There's a window where we weren't allowed. So that would prevent us from, if they dropped us and we wanted to exploit those songs, we just re-record them and release them on another label. They didn't want us to do that. And that included live performances. So we couldn't make a live album of their songs unless it was kind of like they had us in a tight spot because they dropped us and they immediately withdrew the catalog. So, which means that they weren't making any new copies of it, and all the ones that got sold, that was it.
So is that the same case for...
there were so few. They didn't make a whole lot of the Not Richard But Dick album, as they didn't make as much as they did at the Soul Rotation. So that's why that's a much harder CD to find than Soul Rotation, and it gets a lot more money, like on reselling on eBay and stuff.
Yeah. But what was the reason for not having tracks from Metaphysical Graffiti?
I didn't realize that we didn't have tracks from Metaphysical Graffiti on there. But maybe they just weren't in our live set at the time.
Oh, okay. So the Stoneys Extra Stout album, I have to ask you about this, and I think I included this picture in our last chat, but it's the government warning, like, okay, my cousin heard about this lady who found a baby alligator or a lizard or something in her beer. She got sick or something, I think she died.
Yeah.
Where is this from? Is this just Rodney messing around?
It's Rodney messing around. I guess we're at Highgate. Is that the cemetery in London? We were being touristy. And he saw those memorial stones for somebody named Stoneys. Stoneys, was he the inventor of a certain kind of bread in England?
Oh, maybe.
Hovis bread, that's it, Hovis bread. Inventor of Hovis bread, Richard Stoney Smith. So we just happened upon Richard Stoney Smith. That's what inspired Stoney, and that's probably what also inspired that little thing. I don't know. That I don't know. It's just certain things get us, What? Oh, there is a Find a Grave for him too. So there you could see it. Find a Grave. Yeah, there it is. What does it say? Or you patented something, the wheat germ and broken wheat, which made manufacturing. He patented the method that made manufacturing of Hovis bread possible. So he's an important figure in terms of bread. And bread's not that much far off than beer. It's a lot of the same stuff, right? Yeast and stuff. And it's just basically drinkable bread. It gets you a little buzzy.
Alright. So I'm guessing MTV wasn't still interested in the band by the time the Peter Bazooka music video came out?
Not really. They played it on 120 Minutes.
Yeah.
So we still had that. We still had the alternative Sunday night thing that was, this is interesting enough to play. Because we made a conscious decision not to make a video for Not Richard But Dick thing, and that would be the way to go. Because it seemed to us that MTV wasn't interested in the video budgets were getting so expensive that we thought that would be a good thing to do. But I think that was maybe in hindsight a mistake not to promote like I Dream of Jesus or something on video. Whether it will get gotten played or not, I don't know. But Peter Bazooka was our offering. Now that we were on the Restless label back with them, we made it for a lower budget than The Secret of Life. Much lower budget.
Yeah, I'm Flying Away. That's a cover song, isn't it?
Somebody covered it.
Oh, did they? I thought it was a...
But it's our song.
Oh, shit. I thought you guys covered it.
No, we were the originators.
Oh, damn. That's an amazing song. That's probably my favourite song on the album.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Is there a reason, like, let's do one last ska song or something like that?
Probably.
So, the blues song, is this improvised by Rodney, or was every line written?
It's improvised. It was improvised. I guess if we ever do it again, I don't think it's a song we performed much, if at all. Dave Blood is a big blues fan, and when we got back together to do what we knew was going to be our last album, Dave was particularly interested in being more of a part of it than he was, because he wasn't as much of a part of the writing of Not Richard But Dick. But now he was getting back into the band. There was a whole period where, I don't know, we didn't agree on how to end the band, because Dean didn't want to keep touring anymore, and Roddy didn't want to keep touring anymore. And I suggested that we stay together and just play local shows, and people could come to us if they really wanted to see us until we felt like touring again. But Dave was adamantly against doing that. If he wasn't, the whole trajectory of the band could have changed completely. But he didn't want to be in a band that didn't tour. He didn't want to be in the same... He didn't want that. And I'm sure he had valid reasons. From my perspective, it seemed like when we said, let's do one last album before we call it quits because we can't decide on how to proceed, Dave became more interested than he was in the past with working with me and working with us on music. He wanted, I guess, to put his stamp on it. And he liked blues music, and he came up with that bluesy progression. And I think it just lent itself to Rodney's improvisation. And you'll have to ask Rodney how much... I can't get in Rodney's mind, so I don't know how much of it was improvised on the spot, but I know that's how he works. I know that's how Rodney works. He comes up with things and in the spark of the moment, and they're brilliant.
Yeah.
Somehow.
And that's Dean singing Crystalline, isn't it, on that album?
That's Dean on vocals. That's Dean wrote the song. He wrote the music. He wrote the lyrics. That's all Dean.
Okay, I didn't know that.
We performed the music, but he sang it. He wanted to sing a song. That's our last. It was our last album. It was our chance to do everything we wanted to do, anything we wanted to do, because we didn't care anymore.
Yeah. Is there a chance that we could get you to play I Like to Be Alone?
Yeah, I could try it.
Okay.
This is one that we never performed this. I perform it sometimes on my own, but we never performed it as a band. Sometimes I like to be alone. I'm in the wrong case. Sometimes I like to be alone. I just realized. We'll see if we can. But when I read your card, I found it very hard not to be with you today. That's right. Sometimes I need to get away. Sometimes I need to get away. Sometimes I need to get away. But when I hear your voice, I don't have any choice. I want to crawl right through the fence. Oh yeah. Sometimes I like to be alone. God is gravity. God is the law. God is love, so love is the law. Love is gravity, I feel you. I feel you pulling me. Sometimes I'm happy, feeling sad. Sometimes I'm happy, feeling sad. But when I think of you, I'm through with feeling blue. I think of good times we could have. Sometimes I like to be alone. That's what my skewed memory thinks of it.
Are we touching on a final 90s tour story, or should we move on to the 2000s?
All right, I'll give you a final 90s tour story. So we had a show booked well in advance. This is the tour we knew was going to be our last tour, but we weren't committed to tell anybody. A managerial decision so that the record company would still want to promote our records, I guess. Not let the cat out of the bag that we were not going to be touring anymore. Because we hadn't yet got dropped by Hollywood Records. They were still promoting Not Richard But Dick. Our very first show got canceled because Dave never he never woke up at it. He had his own hotel room. And it was one of those cases where our tour manager had to get the hotel to open up, and he was if he was like this close to being found dead, he was still breathing, I guess, and they rushed him to the hospital. We were told that he had some kind of allergic reaction to something. We weren't told what really happened was that he swallowed way too many of the painkillers that he was using because he had tendonitis. So he was given painkillers so that he could play the bass. But we were under the impression that he just had allergic reaction. That show got canceled, had to be rescheduled to the end of the tour. But in the very middle of the tour, like say it was a 5-week tour, so this is 2.5 weeks in. We were in California, in San Francisco. We had a show booked in San Francisco at Slim's. When the show was originally booked, we were the headlining band, but our management informed us that this band called Green Day. Well, we knew who Green Day was. They hadn't yet released Dookie yet, but they were about to. In fact, this was billed as their release party for their album Dookie. They wanted to know if it was okay if we would switch and let Green Day be the headliner of that show. And we, I think, very generously said, sure, why not? This is our last go around anyway. And I think the show was already, it was if not a sellout, it was going to be a sellout. All of our shows were selling out on that tour. This is 1994. We get to the gig and Green Day's there and they're saying, can you please pardon us? We have very, very sorry. First of all, they're backstage and they're greeting us with marijuana joints, which is not, I guess, too unusual, but we weren't partaking at the time. Not that I didn't partake. I just didn't partake before a show or before sound check or anything. I always did it after we were done playing, if at all, but it's usually after. But on this tour, it was like anytime anybody offered me something, if it was after the show, if it was marijuana, I would definitely say yes. But I was like, Billy Joe, I would love to smoke with you. That's very nice and generous of you. And they were telling us, how great we are and how wonderful it is. And thank you for letting us be on this bill. It was your bill to begin with, but thanks for letting us hijack the show. And we really like your music. They were like showering us with this. Wow, this is a great band, Green Day. They like us too. And I was not a fan of theirs, but I wasn't on the radar for them. I just knew of them, kind of, and I never had seen them before. But I don't know. I look back and like, oh, damn, I had a chance to get stoned with Billy Joe, and I said no. But it was also at that time, at that particular occasion, is with Dave in that same backstage area. Dave decided it was time that he'd come clean and tell us that he's been going cold turkey off. He got his painkillers taken away from him by our tour manager, and that was the deal for him continuing the rest of the tour. And by the way, I noticed that we were a lot more in the pocket on that tour as far as, I don't know if it had anything to do with not being on painkillers, but as far as our groove, drum and bass, we were way more in the pocket. And I was like, we're really ripping it up. And Shane, this is our last tour because we're really ripping it up as a punk band. But anyway, long story short, they had MTV there and literally filming their sound check. So MTV's filming their sound check, and their sound check's taking way longer. So another gracious thing we did was we let them go long in the sound check. We didn't care. We can do without, maybe we'll just do a line check before or whatever. But long story short, we played our set. I thought we did really well. They play their set. They just tore the place up. They were fantastic. They became one of my favorite bands immediately. Not so much the rest of the guys, but I liked them. And that just sticks in my head as one of the great moments. And also, as a result of that show, and as a result of Billy Joe remarking in an interview, I think it happened around that time, to Dave Marsh of Rolling Stone, that at that show he remarked to him he was nervous to go on after the Dead Milkmen. Dave Marsh said, "Oh, you have the Dead Milkmen. You have so many better songs than they do. You're a much better songwriter." I actually read that in Rolling Stone because I still subscribed to it at the time. I don't anymore. But I was like, wow, we got slagged by Dave Marsh. Not that he ever would like our band anyway. But we got slagged as a result of the fact that we opened up for Green Day.
So what are your thoughts on
that
Green
sticks
Day
in my
now?
memory. It was a great show. What
are your thoughts on Green Day nowadays?
I always liked them. I'm a follower of them. I like what they did.
Yeah. All right. So since you talked about Dave a little bit there, do you think we could get the well, I guess you don't have to go super in depth, but the story of how you found out that he had died? Because we didn't touch on that last time.
Oh, yeah, it was a terrible, terrible day. I was working because by then I had a night. After the band broke up, the money almost stopped completely. There was no residual royalty money to be had. We're not one of those bands where the records or CDs kept selling. The touring was our main income, and record sales were secondary income to us. Bands few and far between were covering our songs, so we weren't getting publishing money, and radio stations weren't really playing our music anymore, and MTV certainly wasn't playing us. So all that money was dried up. We had to get part-time. We had to get full-time jobs, really. I got a day job doing tech stuff. By now, computers, the internet was, we all went into tech, actually, because that's where jobs were, I guess. The computers were, the internet was coming online in the 90s. But this is the 2000s, right? 2004.
Yeah,
and the low budgets were a band, but the low budgets didn't make enough money to support any of us. We still had jobs. We just kind of either went on vacation. I took my job with me because it was on the internet. But I was at my job working in front of the laptop, and I got a call from Dean, and he said, I'm sorry to tell you this, but I have really bad news, Dave. Dave died. He he took his own life, and I think my response was he did. He finally did it. He finally did it, because he had done it. He had tried a few times before that. In fact, probably just a year before that, he was in the hospital because he got rescued, and who knows how many times he tried to kill himself that we didn't know about, that other people did. I do not know. But I know of two previous times, and I guess that third time that I knew about was the one that did it. So that's where I was at work, and I just called my boss and said, I'm sorry, I just found out an old friend of mine took his own life, and I don't think I can complete the rest of my workday. And she was understood. I understand. Just take it easy. You can have the time off.
Yeah.
And then the phone started ringing and ringing.
Well, you guys had gotten together to put that DVD out, the Philadelphia in Love DVD.
Yeah.
Were you in solid contact with Dave from that point on?
Not solid contact. I called him when he was in the hospital from his other attempt, and maybe I was kind of angry with him, maybe more than I should have been. But the last time I saw him before that was at his mom's funeral, and that was a month or two before that. So it wasn't that long ago before that, but it was at his mom's funeral. And his mom died of cancer, and he was taking care of his mom because his dad wasn't able to do it. So he came home from where he'd been living in Europe. He was in the Czech Republic. He came home, and for the last year of his mom's life, he was tending to her. I saw him more during that year. I didn't see him because he was in Europe. He was in Indiana. I didn't see him. He went to school in Indiana for a couple of years. Then he went to live in Serbia. Then he went to live there was that whole bombing by NATO of Serbia. Then he left because of that. And then he didn't want to be a target to his friends there because Americans were not very welcome at the time. He lived in the Czech Republic. So I didn't see him. I get email. We'd exchange emails on occasion. I got email from him about the bombing campaign. I saw him on CNN because he said he was going to be on CNN. And he was when he came back because they wanted to talk to him about that. And they cut him off because I guess he was saying things they didn't want him to say. And then I was in a band called the Town Managers, and he came to one of our shows. I remember that. And then I don't know if he came to see any low budget shows, but he knew of the low budgets. He knew that we were going on our first big U.S. tour that August. And in fact, we got invited by the band Ween to do a reunion. And I think Dave at the time, that would have been something he would have done. I don't know. But he kept saying he's not interested in playing the bass. He's not interested in doing any of that stuff again. That's part of his past life. But he agreed to meet with us to do the DVD. And that's the last time all four of us were together. It was when we did the commentary on the DVD. We went to a studio outside in the suburbs of Philadelphia and recorded commentary for that DVD videos and compilation.
Yeah, and it's one of my all-time favorite things ever to listen to. I mean,
The commentary.
Yeah, it's so entertaining. But so what happened after that phone call? What was the conversation like with Rodney for the first time after you got that call?
Just like, oh fuck, I can't believe it. It's like, this is not supposed to happen. We're supposed to get old and have memories and have stories that we can't now share. We can't hear there's a missing piece into whenever we get together. Even though we're with Dan doesn't have the same experience. We can't get his perspective, his changed perspective on anything because he's not here to tell it to us. I think Rodney's thing was, and maybe mine was, and Rodney's was that, well, we're never going to get back together now. What I was going to say is the band Ween invited us to reunite for a big show they were having on Penn's Landing in Philadelphia. And I was like, damn, I wish we could do it. And Dave was there too. Dave, because we all got the news together. I think it was exactly when we were doing that recording thing. Our manager, I think, said, do you want to? We never broke up as a company. We were still a company. We were DM Music. That's the name of our company. So that, as far as business was concerned, I don't know whether Dave would have wanted to do that show or not. Part of me thinks maybe he would have, and that would have been our reunion, and that could have been the path to us being a band again. But more part of me would say no, he wouldn't want to revisit the past. He was done with the Dead Milkmen. They represented something he wanted to leave behind. And I couldn't do it because I already had a tour booked with the Low Budgets for the entire month of August.
Yeah. So...
And this is 2023. 2003, not 2000. 2003.
So were you all present at the funeral? Even like the band manager? Did everyone show up?
I think everyone showed up. I think so. I think our band manager showed up. I'm pretty sure he did. It was at a Quaker meeting house. And he was cremated. There was another ceremony that I showed up for, and our road manager showed up. But I don't think our manager or Dean or Rodney showed up for, and that was the spreading of the ashes.
Okay. So where did that happen?
Westchester, New York. That's where he died.
Okay. Well, he'll forever be remembered on the first 8 Dead Milkmen albums, and I didn't want to end this on such a downer, but I might release a separate video with the video commentaries that we're about to do, because we're going a little bit long here, and I didn't want to take too much of your time. The first time I had you on, I made you play Watching Scotty Die a couple of times, and we had technical difficulties every time that you played it, so should we close the show out with that one?
Yeah. I've got a kid, his name is Scott. He's going blind and his blood just will not clot. Doctor's lining rows to stick tubes up Scotty's nose. There is a field where Scotty used to play. The orange number 42. Dumped in it one day. I think it's so funny. I laugh until I cry. Just me and God. Watching Scotty die. Watching Scotty die. Chemical plant across the street. Leaves of steam colors our white sheets. It's been happening for years. Now I'm crying rainbow tears. One day our dog went out to play. Instead of pray, it came back colored yellow. Chemical man said stay out. happens all the time. Now Scotty's skin is mine. I think it's so funny. I laugh until I cry, just feeling bad. Watching Scotty die. Just me and God. Watching Scotty die.
Yes. Yes. Thank you so much for doing this, Joe.
You're welcome. Thanks, Jay.
All right, see you in the next video.
Talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.